What would you do if your own brother showed up at your home with 20 strangers, demanding to take over your life's work? That's not a metaphor. That's not a what-if scenario. That's exactly what happened to me, and I need to know, am I the villain for what I did next? My name is Dr. Melissa Carter. I'm 38 years old, a cardiothoracic surgeon. I've spent my entire adult life working long hours in operating rooms, saving lives while sacrificing weekends, birthdays, relationships, and sometimes even my own health. Every dollar I earned was drenched in sweat, exhaustion, and determination. And finally, I reached a point where I could breathe. 3 years ago, I bought my dream home, a $2.8 million oceanfront villa on Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. A place of calm. A place of healing. My sanctuary after years of chaos. But here's the thing about chaos, it doesn't just disappear because you've built walls and bought expensive locks. Sometimes, it wears the face of family. Let me tell you about my younger brother, Ethan Carter. He's 35 now. Growing up, people always described Ethan as charming, easygoing, the kind of guy everyone liked at first glance. But behind that charm was a storm. He never finished college, never kept a job longer than 6 months, and lived most of his adult life bouncing from one friend's couch to another. And who kept bailing him out? You guessed it, me. I paid his rent more than once. I helped him get out of debt after he maxed out credit cards. I even covered the cost of rehab when he experimented a little too far with substances. Each time, he'd look me in the eye and promise, "This is the last time, sis. I swear I'll get my life together." And each time, like a fool, I believed him. Maybe I should back up and explain why. When Ethan and I were kids, we lost our dad early. Mom worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. As the older sibling, I naturally stepped into the role of protector. I babysat Ethan, helped with his homework, and even skipped school activities so I could pick him up when Mom couldn't. He was my little brother. My responsibility. And when you grow up like that, it's hard to unlearn the pattern. Even when you're adults. Even when you should know better. Now let me ask you, viewers. Have you ever been the responsible one while your sibling got away with everything? Did your parents ever say things like, "Cut your brother some slack, he's younger," or, "You're the strong one, Melissa, you can handle it"? At what point does that narrative stop being family love and start becoming family manipulation? I wrestled with those questions for years. The truth is, Ethan never respected boundaries. If I bought something nice, he'd say I was showing off. If I worked extra shifts, he'd say I was obsessed with money. And when I finally bought my villa, he treated it like community property. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what happened last summer. I had just come back from a grueling 2-week medical conference in Boston. I was exhausted, dragging my suitcase up the steps of my villa, craving nothing but a hot shower and a quiet evening with a glass of wine. But the moment I unlocked my front door, I froze. Loud music thundered from inside. Bass shook the floors. Laughter, shouting, the unmistakable smell of pizza and spilled beer hit my nose. My heart sank. I pushed the door open and was greeted by chaos. 20 strangers, yes, 20, were scattered across my living room, kitchen, and even the balcony. People I'd never seen in my life. Some had their shoes kicked off on my Persian rug. Others sprawled across my Italian leather sofa, greasy pizza boxes open on the coffee table. Someone had even set up a beer pong table in my dining room. I stood there, stunned, clutching my suitcase like a lifeline. And then I saw him. Ethan. He was in the center of it all, beer in hand, grinning like he owned the place. When he spotted me, he raised his glass and shouted, "Melissa! You made it. We're throwing a week-long bash. Isn't this place perfect for it?" I couldn't even process the audacity. My jaw dropped. What the hell are you doing in my house? I demanded. Ethan laughed, stumbling toward me with open arms. Relax, sis. You weren't even here. What's the point of having this gorgeous beach house if no one enjoys it? Enjoy it? He had 20 drunk strangers trashing my sanctuary. I scanned the room again, my pulse skyrocketing. A girl I didn't know was holding one of my crystal wine glasses, worth $200 apiece. A guy with muddy boots was propped against the wall near my framed medical degree. My kitchen counter was littered with empty bottles. I could feel my blood boiling. Everyone out. Now. My voice shook, but not from fear, rage. Ethan rolled his eyes like I was the unreasonable one. Come on, Melissa. Don't be such a buzzkill. You're rich. You've got everything. Can't you share for once? You owe me that much. Owe him. My mind raced back to the years I had covered his failures. The rent I paid. The debts I cleared. The lies I swallowed. And now, he had the nerve to say I owed him. Ethan crossed his arms and smirked at me like I was the unreasonable one. You owe me, Melissa. You wouldn't even have this house if it weren't for me covering at home while you went off to med school. I almost laughed at the sheer delusion. Covering at home. Was he talking about the years when Mom and I worked double shifts while he skipped classes and partied? Covering at home. I shot back. You mean the years you stole money from Mom's purse? The times I had to bail you out of jail for stupid fights? That's your definition of covering? The room went quiet for a moment. A few of his friends exchanged awkward glances. But Ethan, he just grinned wider, unbothered. You're so dramatic. Always have been. He grabbed another beer from the counter and popped it open like this was just a casual sibling squabble. Lighten up. It's just a party. My hands clenched at my sides. Just a party. My home, my things, my peace, violated. I turned to the strangers around the room. This is my house. You all need to leave. Now. But instead of moving, one of the guys on the balcony snorted. Damn, Ethan, your sister's intense. Another girl giggled, raising her glass. Yeah, Melissa, don't be such a Karen. We're just vibing. Karen. That word cut deeper than they realized. They didn't know me. They didn't know the years I spent sacrificing every ounce of energy to make it here. And yet in one breath, they dismissed me as if I were the villain for daring to protect what was mine. Have you ever been gaslighted in your own home? Have you ever felt like a stranger in the place you worked your whole life to earn? That's exactly how I felt. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Ethan, you need to get everyone out. This isn't negotiable. But Ethan just leaned back against the counter, sipping his beer like he was the king of my castle. You don't get it, Melissa. These are my friends. They're family to me. And family sticks together. You can't just kick us out. Family. That word stung. Because where was family when I was working 36-hour shifts during residency, collapsing from exhaustion? Where was family when I had no one to celebrate my first published research paper with? Where was family when Ethan called me only to ask for money, never to ask if I was okay? And now, family was his shield. His excuse. I looked around again. Someone was taking selfies on my balcony, another was opening cabinets in my kitchen. My stomach churned. This wasn't just disrespect. It was invasion. But here's the thing, standing up to family feels different than standing up to strangers. If it had been burglars, I would have called the cops instantly. No hesitation. But this was my brother. The same boy I used to read bedtime stories to. The same kid I held when he cried after Dad's funeral. Do you ever feel like your heart and your mind are at war? Your heart whispers, but it's family. Your mind screams, this isn't right. This will destroy you if you let it. That's where I was, stuck in the battlefield between guilt and self-respect. Ethan must have sensed my hesitation because he doubled down. He raised his voice, addressing the whole room. Guys, don't worry. Melissa's just uptight. She always has been. She'll cool off. This is as much my place as it is hers. My jaw dropped. Excuse me. This is not your place. Your name isn't on the deed. You've never paid a single bill here. But Ethan waved me off, smirking. Details, details. Without me, you wouldn't have had the freedom to become a doctor. You owe me this. The crowd laughed. Some clapped him on the back, egging him on. Yeah, let's party, someone shouted, and the music volume went back up. I stood there, powerless in my own home. At that moment, I had two options: explode and lose control, or take a step back and think. I chose to think. I walked upstairs, heart pounding, hands trembling. I needed distance. In my bedroom, I locked the door behind me, sank onto the bed, and buried my face in my hands. What was I supposed to do? Call the police on my own brother? Evict him like a stranger? Or swallow my anger, let him run wild, and hope the damage wasn't permanent? None of those options felt right. But here's the brutal truth: sometimes there are no right options, just necessary ones. I grabbed my phone and stared at the screen. The contact list blurred through my tears until one name came into focus: Rachel, my best friend since college. Someone who always told me the truth, even when it hurt. I hit call. She picked up on the second ring. Melissa? You okay? I burst into a whisper yell, my voice shaking. No, I'm not okay. Ethan broke into my house with 20 strangers. They're trashing everything. He's saying I owe him. I don't know what to do. There was silence on the line, then Rachel's sharp intake of breath. Call the cops. Right now. I can't. He's my brother. Melissa, listen to me. If it were anyone else, you wouldn't hesitate. Family doesn't give him a free pass to destroy your life. Her words pierced me like a scalpel. Precise. Cutting away the lies I'd been telling myself. Family doesn't give him a free pass. I hung up, my decision clear. I stood in the middle of my own living room, staring at Ethan as if he were a stranger. His friends had started whispering, shifting uncomfortably, but none of them moved. The air smelled of spilled beer and cheap cologne. My hands shook, but my voice came out steady. Security is on the way. If you're still here when they arrive, you'll be charged with trespassing. A nervous laugh rippled through the room. One girl put down her drink and whispered, "Wait, is she serious?" Another guy, clearly drunk, chuckled and muttered, "She's bluffing." Ethan seized on that. He smirked, swaggering toward me. You hear that? No one believes you, Melissa. Because you would never call the cops on your own brother. You don't have the guts. I locked eyes with him. Watch me. The silence that followed was sharp, like the air before a storm. A few of his so-called friends grabbed their bags and slipped out the back door, clearly not wanting trouble. But others lingered, emboldened by Ethan's confidence. He raised his voice, addressing the room like some self-appointed king. She thinks she's better than us because she's got money and a big house. But who was there when she cried herself to sleep as a teenager? Me. Who kept her from losing her mind in med school? Me. Without me, she wouldn't even be here. She owes me this. I laughed bitterly. You? Ethan, I carried you. I gave you rent money, paid your debts, even got you into rehab. You've never given me anything but excuses and shame. That cut through his bravado. His face turned red, his fists clenched. He took a step toward me, lowering his voice to a venomous hiss. You think you're so perfect. But deep down, you know you're pathetic. You hide behind your career because you've got no one who actually loves you. That hit hard. Because some part of me had always feared it was true, that my success came at the cost of love, that my independence was really loneliness. But here's the thing, insults only work if you believe them. And in that moment, I realized I didn't anymore. I raised my chin, my voice steady. I'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who only stay as long as I pay for the beer. The room fell silent. And then headlights washed through the windows. Tires crunched on gravel. My heart skipped a beat. Security had arrived. 2 guards in navy uniforms stepped inside, scanning the chaos. One looked at me. Ma'am, can you confirm, do any of these people have permission to be here? My throat tightened, but I forced the word out. No. None of them. A collective gasp. Some of Ethan's friends cursed under their breath. Suddenly, they weren't so bold anymore. The guard's presence changed everything. All right, folks, the taller guard said firmly. You need to leave immediately. If you don't, the police will be here in 5 minutes, and you'll be charged. The reaction was instant. People scrambled for the door, shoving each other in their rush to escape trouble. A girl muttered, "Sorry, Ethan, I didn't sign up for this." Within minutes, the living room emptied, leaving behind sticky cups, crushed chips, and the lingering stench of beer. And Ethan. He stood there, jaw clenched, eyes burning into me. The smirk was gone now, replaced by something uglier, betrayal mixed with fury. You really did it, he spat. You actually called them. Your own brother. My stomach twisted, but I didn't look away. Yes. Because you stopped acting like one a long time ago. His voice rose, trembling with rage. If I walk out that door, you'll never see me again. Is that what you want, Melissa? To lose the only family you've got left? The words hit like a knife. Because deep down, a part of me still saw the little boy who clung to me after Dad's funeral, whispering, "Don't leave me too." That memory almost broke me. But then I looked around, at the beer-stained rug, the broken wine glass, the trash littering my safe haven. And I thought about every year I had cleaned up his messes, every lie I had swallowed, every time I chose his comfort over my sanity. Enough. I drew in a shaky breath. If protecting myself means losing you, then yes. This is goodbye. For a heartbeat, his eyes softened. Just a flicker. Then the anger swallowed it whole. He grabbed his jacket, stormed toward the door, and spat over his shoulder, "You'll regret this." The door slammed so hard the walls rattled. And then, silence. I stood there, the echo still ringing in my ears, my body trembling from the adrenaline. The guards lingered, asking if I wanted to file a police report. I shook my head. Not tonight. Tonight, I just wanted my house back. As they left, I locked the door behind them. For the first time all evening, the villa was quiet. The kind of quiet that isn't empty, but healing. I sank onto the sofa, my eyes stinging with tears. It should have felt like victory. But all I felt was grief, grief for the brother I had lost long before tonight, grief for the years wasted trying to save someone who never wanted saving. The villa was quiet again, but it didn't feel like peace. Not yet. Everywhere I looked was evidence of the chaos Ethan had dragged into my sanctuary: sticky red Solo cups on the coffee table, a half-eaten pizza crust ground into my rug, a shattered wine glass glittering on the floor. My Persian rug, thousands of dollars, was stained with beer. I should have been furious. And part of me was. But mostly, I just felt empty. I grabbed a trash bag from the pantry and started cleaning. One cup, one bottle, one crumpled napkin at a time. My hands moved mechanically, but my mind raced. Was this really it? Had I just ended my relationship with my only sibling? Was I heartless for choosing walls and furniture over family? Or was that exactly the kind of guilt Ethan had always used to control me? Halfway through scrubbing the rug, my phone buzzed. The screen lit up with a familiar name, Mom. Of course. Ethan must have called her the second he left. I hesitated, then answered. Hi, Mom. Her voice was sharp, angrier than I'd heard in years. Melissa and Carter, what on earth did you do? Ethan just called me in tears saying you threw him out of your house like a criminal. I closed my eyes, exhaustion crashing over me. Because he was acting like one, Mom. He broke in with 20 strangers. They trashed my home. He's your brother, she snapped. Family comes first. You've always been so hard on him. You think just because you have money, you're better than the rest of us. There it was. The old wound. Better than you? My voice cracked. Mom, I worked myself into the ground for 20 years. I missed birthdays, Christmases, my entire 20s. All so I could give us a better life. And what has Ethan done? Nothing but take. He's struggling, Mom said softly now, guilt-tripping. Not everyone can be strong like you. My chest tightened. Always that phrase. You're strong, Melissa. You can handle it. I'd been hearing it since I was 12. And every time, it meant one thing, I had to carry everyone else's weight. I swallowed hard. Being strong doesn't mean being used. I can't do it anymore, Mom. Not for him. There was silence on the line, then a sigh. One day, when I'm gone, you'll regret this. You'll regret not being there for your brother. The words stung, even though I knew they were unfair. I hung up before she could say more. My hands were shaking. Tell me, viewers. Have you ever had a parent defend the sibling who does everything wrong, while criticizing the one who holds everything together? Why do some families treat responsibility as a punishment instead of a virtue? At what point does helping cross into enabling? I couldn't sleep that night. Even after I finished cleaning, even after I changed the locks, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. Ethan's sneer. Mom's disappointment. Rachel's voice telling me to protect myself. The next morning, it got worse. My phone buzzed nonstop with notifications. At first, I thought it was work emails. But no, it was social media. Ethan had gone on Facebook, posting a long rant about how his selfish, heartless sister kicked him out on the street. He made himself sound like a victim, painting me as some cold, greedy doctor who cared more about material things than family. And people ate it up. Comments poured in. Wow, can't believe she'd do that to her own brother. Money really changes people. Ethan, you deserve better, bro. I felt sick. These strangers didn't know me, didn't know the years of sacrifices, the endless bailouts, the tears. But in the court of public opinion, Ethan was winning. For a moment, I wondered if I should defend myself. Post the truth. List every bill I paid, every rehab check I signed. But then I stopped. Do you ever realize that no amount of explanation will change someone who doesn't want to see the truth? I closed the app. Let them think what they wanted. Instead, I called a locksmith and had every lock replaced. I hired a cleaning crew to deep clean the house. And then I did something radical. I booked a solo weekend retreat off island. No phone, no contact, just silence. Because here's what I learned, peace doesn't come from people finally treating you right. Peace comes from you deciding you deserve it, no matter what they think. When I returned, the villa felt different. Quieter. Stronger. Mine. But that didn't mean it was easy. Some nights, I still cry. I still wonder if I was too harsh, if Ethan will spiral without me. I still hear Mom's voice in my head, saying I'll regret it. And maybe I will. Maybe one day, I'll look back and wish I had handled it differently. But right now, I know this, I chose myself. For the first time in my life, I put my well-being above Ethan's chaos. And maybe that makes me selfish. Or maybe, it finally makes me free. A week passed after the storm with Ethan, and still the house didn't feel the same. The locks were new, the rooms were spotless, but the air carried a heaviness that cleaning crews couldn't erase. Every night, I found myself replaying memories, some good, some unbearable. Like the time I was 13 and Ethan was 10. He scraped his knee on the driveway, and I carried him inside, bandaged him up, kissed his forehead. He whispered, "Thanks, Mel. You're the best sister ever." Or when I graduated high school as valedictorian, and he clapped louder than anyone, shouting, "That's my sister." Those moments haunt me. Because they prove that once, long ago, we had something real. But when did it change? Was it after Dad died and Mom leaned on me too much? Was it when Ethan realized that no matter how badly he messed up, someone, me, would always clean up after him? Tell me, viewers. Do toxic family dynamics happen slowly, drip by drip, until one day you wake up drowning? Or do they happen all at once, in a single betrayal? Sometimes I wonder if Ethan even realizes how much he's taken from me, not just money, but time, trust, peace of mind. Does he even see me as a person anymore, or just a safety net? One memory in particular keeps resurfacing. I was in med school, surviving on ramen and caffeine, working part-time just to cover rent. Ethan called me one night, sobbing. He said he'd gotten into trouble with some guys, owed them money he couldn't pay. I wired him $500, the money I had set aside for groceries that month. I spent the next 2 weeks skipping meals, fainting once during a late-night shift. When I think about that now, I feel anger, but also shame. Shame that I let him manipulate me. Shame that I believed his words over my own needs. Why is it that society praises self-sacrifice, especially in women, but rarely acknowledges the cost? Why do we call it loyalty when one sibling bleeds themselves dry to keep the other afloat? Maybe you've been there too, guilt into giving, told you're heartless if you say no. Maybe you've heard the same lines I did, "You're strong, you can handle it. Don't turn your back on family." But here's the truth I've come to realize: strength doesn't mean carrying everyone else. Sometimes strength means putting the weight down and walking away. One evening, Rachel came over with takeout and a bottle of wine. She sat across from me at the kitchen island, studying my face. "You don't look like someone who won," she said gently. I laughed bitterly. Because it doesn't feel like winning. It feels like losing him forever. "Melissa," she said, leaning forward, "you didn't lose him last week. You lost him years ago. Last week, you just admitted it out loud." Her words hit hard. And yet, part of me still wonders, could I have done something different? Could I have helped Ethan without enabling him? Could I have drawn firmer boundaries earlier, saved both of us this pain? I'll never know. But maybe that's the question I want to leave with you, the viewers. When do you stop giving chances to family? How do you know the line between compassion and self-destruction? Is it ever truly okay to cut off blood relatives, or is that a betrayal we can never justify? I don't have the answers. All I know is that my life is quieter now. My home is safe. And for the first time in decades, I wake up without bracing for the next crisis call from Ethan. But quiet can feel lonely too. Some mornings, I catch myself picking up my phone, half expecting a text from him. An apology. Thank you. Anything. But the screen stays blank. And maybe it always will. It's been 3 months since that night. 3 months since Ethan stormed out of my villa with the promise that I'd regret this. And here's the truth, sometimes, I do. Sometimes, late at night, I stare at old family photos, 2 kids with messy hair and gap-toothed smiles, and I ache for the brother I used to know. The one who once held my hand crossing the street, who cheered at my school plays, who promised me we'd always be a team. But grief doesn't erase reality. And the reality is, Ethan hasn't changed. Not once. Not after the money, not after the rehab, not after the countless second chances. The last I heard, he was crashing on a friend's couch in Boston, still blaming me for abandoning him. Mom still calls sometimes, still says I'll regret it, still insists I reach out. But I don't. Not because I don't care, but because caring doesn't mean sacrificing myself anymore. Let me ask you, viewers. How many chances should one person get before it's too many? Is blood truly thicker than water, or is that just something we say to excuse bad behavior? If family is supposed to be about love and respect, what happens when those are gone? I used to think setting boundaries was cruel. That saying no meant I was selfish, heartless, ungrateful. But now I understand something I wish I had learned sooner. Boundaries are not walls to keep love out. They're fences to keep chaos from consuming you. When I finally said goodbye to Ethan, I didn't just kick him out of my house, I reclaimed my life. My peace. My dignity. Do I wish things were different? Of course. I wish he had chosen growth instead of excuses. I wish Mom could see me as more than just the strong one. I wish family meant safety instead of sacrifice. But wishing doesn't change reality. Acting does. And so, I act. I go to work, I save lives, I come home to silence that no longer feels like loneliness but like freedom. I take walks on the beach, sip my wine on the balcony, and remind myself, I earned this. Every inch of this life was built on my blood, sweat, and years. No one, brother or not, gets to take that from me. Some people will still call me heartless. Others will say I should have tried harder. Maybe they're right. Or maybe they just haven't lived in my shoes. So now I turn the question to you. Backhand index pointing right. If you were me, would you have let Ethan stay one more night? Backhand index pointing right. Would you have given him yet another chance? Backhand index pointing right. Or would you, like me, have finally said, enough? Because at the end of the day, this isn't just my story. It's a question of how much we owe the people we love, and how much we owe ourselves. And maybe, just maybe, choosing yourself isn't betrayal. Maybe it's the bravest act of love you can give, to yourself. Direct hit call to action. So, what do you think? Was I wrong for cutting my brother off? Should family always come first, no matter what? Or was it time for me to finally stand up and protect myself? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I want to hear your perspective. And if you've ever been in a situation where family pushed your boundaries, share your story below. Let's start a conversation. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more real-life drama stories, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Because trust me, this isn't the only story out there. And maybe, just maybe, yours deserves to be told too.